player, but it was because he just played Aurelia every game for like 2 weeks in solo queue. So not entirely sure whether that's an accurate one, but we'll see how it turns out and whether removing the Aurelia is going to have an effect on this game.
Well, he has a lot more champions than just the Aurelia. That is true, and he does have a very diverse pool, in fact, in saying that. But the Aurelia, seemingly, if you play it for 2 weeks in a row, you're going to be pretty good at it.
That's true. It was relatively
so taken away among many other champions now. Yeah,
understandably, the Civ are going to be banned away from Shiny, of course, known as this prodigy Civ player.
Yeah.
But Nara and Nunu are going to be taken away as well, and it's interesting to see Sudden Fear removing the Nara. Of course, Robosan are more than happy to play that one, but Rosie, that is his top laner of choice. We've seen him play the Lulu as well, but it sort of has been the Nara, if he can get it, really has been sort of his move to top lane has been, okay, I'll play Nara.
I think what interests me is that the Nara was banned and then followed by the Hecarim, so it doesn't leave a whole lot of top lane options available. You've now got almost exclusively Maokai, and then the Rumble perhaps, and Rosie does play Rumble, so that might be an option. They may not want to first pick their top here. They might want to save it and pick, say, the Nautilus and maybe Azir and get that out of the way, because Azir will be heavily contested between these two mid laners.
Yeah, the Nunu is banned away, so Juve's not going to be able to lock in that one to go alongside any Azirs for some Blood Boil action if they want to. Of course, Sin taking a little while here. I would actually really like to see the Gragas, as we do see it locked in immediately. Of course, Nautilus to follow as well, and you mentioned the Nautilus. It does leave the Maokai available. Robosan can hop on that champion if he wants to and offer some peel here to their first big Kalista.
Yeah, they're going to be able to go for the Maokai, but again, Rosie has that pocket Rumble to fall back to.
Burn the trees down.
It may be worth saving it and forcing the last pick to be the Rumble against the Maokai just to see what they actually pull out. So they do have the option here of taking away a jungler if they want to, and it's starting to feel a little bit limited. They have the Rek'Sai if they choose, and I think Bomi does love Lee Sin. Perhaps he wants to bring that one back out.
Don't know about that one. We'll see whether he does decide to go with it. I would really like to see the Rek'Sai, though. A Pink Bomi was known, and they're going to lock it in, a Pink Bomi was known for having very strong early control of the jungle. It wasn't necessarily sort of his late-game rotational control and vision. It's more about how he moves around the map in the early stages of the game, because Sudden Fear actually managed to play very, very well around early games. They just sort of fall off late when unable to come back, and we'll see whether he can have that same level of control.
Well, he is on Rek'Sai, so he has the early control available. It is almost channeling what he loved, which was the Lee Sin. So maintaining the early pressure, and they did respond again. They've got that Maokai locked in. So Sin are available to pick the Rumble, or Rosie could do something outrageous that he has actually played top Cassiopeia before in solo queue. So he has got the weird diverse champion pool from knowing every single lane.
Yeah. And it's weird because he was sort of originally like played a lot of casters, a lot of mid lane, then moved to support and had a stint there where he thought he wanted to play AD carry as well. It was actually a fantastic Graves, if I remember as well. Yeah, Caitlyn. This guy's played a lot of things, but it is going to be the Urgot lock-in as well as that Rumble, and man, they are going all in for the level 6.
Yeah, and Urgot also known as what is a fairly common counter to Kalista. Not a direct counter, more of a soft counter, but you have this early pressure that the Kalista can't really get onto you, but I don't necessarily completely agree with that, because Kalista spikes a lot harder and more often than an Urgot, so we'll see how it actually plays out. And that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I want it to be locked in, but I just don't know where he goes.
Don't get your hopes up, mate.
Yeah, not sure where that one would be. The support Shen. Throw him in for the multi-man Shadow Dash? Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a possibility. And it reduces damage, so...
It's not going to happen.
I wish.
Not even a little bit. I wish to. A whole lot. Oh, Shiny is going to go back to the Azir, so Christmas Tree's going to try his hand one more time. Of course, has played the Azir a couple of times. Of course, his first performance wasn't exactly the best, but look, he's been practicing it a lot, and we'll see whether he can actually perform on it this time. They've got a heck of a lot of consistent DPS, though.
They have a lot of damage, and they've got what is not directly, they've got the Maokai and the Rek'Sai, who's like a pseudo frontline style player, so they have the frontline for the damage, and they've got the Black Shield for the utility, but with one pick remaining here on the side of Sin, and Azir being the lock-in, which I thought would have potentially been priority for both teams, maybe the response is a confident Cassiopeia, because it does do quite well, and it is the common matchup.
Well, we'll see whether that is what Rymeister decides to go with. Of course, he's got a lot of assassins that he can pick up if he wants to. I'd in fact like to see anything like a Zed. Yeah, exactly. So able to get a whole lot of split pushing done maybe in the mid game if they want to, but I guess their team fight around Dragons is looking very strong, so Zed may not necessarily fit, but they've only got a couple of seconds.
They might want wave clear. So,
well, they're going to pick Cassiopeia. That's a lot of DPS. And That does actually fit with that comp, because if you manage to get a Petrifying Gaze and then you layer an Equalizer on top of it,
yeah.
I don't think anyone survives that. Just not even.
Pretty difficult to survive that unless you get a Juve's Explosive Cask knocking them to safety. And let's not discredit the possibility, but it is unlikely that that would happen. And we have the finished team comps now, and they're very, very strong, well-rounded team comps. Sin seems to spike more with a mid-game strength.
Yeah.
They've got the Urgot and the Rumble, who do want to fight for the early objectives, get the Dragon control, and take control, basically, of the entire mid-game stages. Whereas you're looking at the side of Sudden Fear, and they scale very well into the late game. They've got the Azir, they've got the Kalista, and then they've got the front line to cater to that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a Pink Bomi and saying he has the team on his back for the first 20 minutes of the game.
He basically does that, and the teleports are the biggest factors.
It's going to be really, really difficult for Sudden Fear to really get through that. But once they do, they've got the Kalista factor. They've got the Ren sets to come down. They've also got Azir with so much consistency. And we'll see whether Christmas Trees has gotten a little bit more comfortable. Of course, we questioned him earlier on, but that's because he moved from the top lane. He may not necessarily be as used to it, and now he's up against a very difficult matchup. So if they manage to get through this one, there's a massive confidence boost for this team.
Oh, for sure. He's up against a very strong competitor here as well. Rymeister having that 9 KDA so far from the 2 games that he has performed in, both as Azir.
Yeah.
So knows what he's doing when it comes to Azir. Has the matchup which does quite well into Azir. And it will be a big sign to see how they go against each other in the mid.
Yeah, well, of course, on the other side of the rift, you do have Christmas Trees, who has been a bit lacking on the old kill participation front. Really hasn't managed to get in there with his team. Of course, a lot of their games didn't have very many kills. So, I mean, maybe that's what he's going to be saying. It's just, okay, well, when there's 2, I can't help but have a 0% kill participation because there were only 2 kills and they didn't happen in my lane. So maybe that's one of his excuses. But look, of course, Rymeister really does like to put his team on his back, and we'll see whether Christmas Trees is going to be the gateway to that to really stop him and push him out.
Yeah, well, I think he'll be involved in some kind of kill participation
One
way
can only hope.
or another. Whether it's him getting the kills or him getting killed, because the aggression you get from Rymeister in this lane, we've seen it up against Chiefs where he took down Swiffer 1v1. He wants to get a kill in lane, or at least push you out and get control.
Yeah.
Work with his jungler, and then rotate across the entire map together as a duo. They do that exceptionally well, especially if they get ahead. So I think there will be kill participation one way or another in the mid.
Well, we'll see how it goes. But I want to have a look at the bot lane here just for a moment. Of course, people loved pairing up Morgana with Kalista when Kalista was first starting to rise in popularity. What with Vi running around the jungle so much, that assault and battery being such a big deal, having to definitely get out of that, otherwise you are dead, just flat out. But the Black Shield, how is that going to be working out here in this game as we move forward?
The Black Shield's going to have a big impact on how the laning phase actually goes. You've got the Nautilus, who has that hard engage, the hook potential. So if you can Black Shield the right thing, and I mean, there is a lot of engage potential from a Nautilus. It can go on multiple people. You need to Black Shield right, but if you can allow the Kalista to get the free hits off, it's near impossible to actually stop someone from dying, because Kalista can kind of just bounce around and be very annoying and get Ren stacks.
Yeah, and you can just chase after them with that Martial Poise as well. And if anything can be said about this Sudden Fear lineup, Patu was incredible at weaving skill shots, especially on the Thresh. Some of those were seriously highlight reel potential because he'd managed to get them through minions, snaking them around the rift, like really playing that champion well. So we'll see whether he can do the same thing with some Dark Bindings, because as soon as you're hitting those, you're managing to play Morgana at almost a top level. There's not too much more to do apart from hit bindings and get Black Shields.
Well, when it comes to part 2, we've seen it again on the Nautilus. We've seen it on the Thresh. His kill participation when it comes to hitting hooks.
Yep.
Or hitting skill shots that are difficult. So Morgana does fit that category. I think part 2 will fit in quite well.
He most certainly will. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you on Twitter. So hop on there and let us know who you think is going to take this game. Use the hashtag SFWin or the hashtag SinWin. And I know it rhymes, but make sure you don't forget about Sudden Fear as well. And let us know how you think this one's going to go on Twitter, because I want to see whether we can have our underdogs maybe try and come back in this one, but Sin really looking strong. And, of course, coming through with that massive mid laner in Rymeister. Who can tell what's going to happen this game? So let us know what you think.
Exactly right. And we need Sudden Fear to put their foot down and really cement
Bring
their
us a
spot.
game, boys.
Exactly. Bring the game to us. Show us that you've got what it takes to stay in this league. And they're up against Sin. And if there's any team they can do it against, it's a fresh side where they can take them by surprise with these strategies. And Sin, experienced players, but not an experienced team.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. And so we'll see what they can do moving in. Of course, they had a lot of hype in the OCS. Of course, you casted that brilliantly, Mr. Pi. And look, they had a whole lot of hype moving forward. And we'll see whether they can really answer for that, because a lot of people were thinking that Sin were going to be way up the top of this league when they came in the first place. And so far, they've dropped a game. I mean, we haven't seen too much from them, but they have taken a victory. 50-50's okay, but we'll see how they can move forward and pick up the victories. And this does look like a real opportunity for them to grab another one.
It did feel like a shaky start for Sin when they were coming in almost as these favorites. Even into the Challenger Series, they were coming in as the first seed, basically, looking to rampage their way through.
Yeah.
They ended up qualifying second, I think. So they did lose to Absolute, who we have seen play early today. So
yeah,
a bit of shaky start. And when it comes to the pressure system, maybe they do crack a little bit.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether that is going to be a problem for them as we move forward. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a slight pause at the beginning of the game. That is why you're seeing our lovely faces instead of some sweet League of Legends action. But we will be getting into it as soon as possible. And we're just going to talk about these comps for a little bit more, because another thing that I want to mention is the fact that a Pink Bomi is going to be on this Rek'Sai, and Cassiopeia a little bit gankable there in the mid lane. Do you think that Rymeister might have been a little bit overconfident with the pick into a Rek'Sai?
It's not overconfident because you have the Gragas available as well. So the counter gank is quite volatile, and you've got the matchup in mid lane that seems to go in your favor at the very least really early. Yep. Once you get, say, the Fiendish Codex onto the Azir, and then you've got a tier onto the Cassiopeia, it's not a combat stat. The difference is quite massive in terms of who can hit the poke, right? And the jungle pressure will come down either offensively or defensively based on that. So let's say pre-level 6, Cassiopeia is going to be the one putting down all of the damage. Then the jungle pressure from the Gragas will be offensive, and the threat of dying as the Cassiopeia is a lot less.
Oh, okay. So sort of the counter gank potential is there. Does that mean that we're going to see a lot of sort of focus on that mid lane, or is the team going to focus on maybe getting a lane swap in, really free that one up so they can give Rymeister maybe an opportunity, or maybe give Christmas Trees a chance to get a potential gank, get a potential 3-man roam there to the mid lane?
Well, that's the thing, I suppose. When you have an aggressive Snake Lady coming in there and pushing your lane and trying to do damage to you, will push the lane. Her spells are AoE besides the Twin Fangs.
Good point.
Will start to push the lane in. So there is the threat of the gank coming in there. And if they do it right, they'll get the Cassiopeia down, because she does not have a lot of health early. Her base stats are quite low, and she's going to be starting with a tier first. But again, the counter gank pressure is definitely evident if they focus around the mid lane. And in saying that, it's Juves. He does love his mid laner. They're best buddies when it comes to playing League of Legends. We'll see if he wants to put pressure around there, if he's going to neglect his best mate, if they've had some issues prior to this game.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see if there's a feud. Maybe someone's miffed, Rusty. That might be a case. Yes,
Family feud.
Nailed it. Managed to get miffed into another cast. Feeling good.
Well done.
Yeah, that being said, I mean, we do have the top lane matchup. Juves probably can feel free just to head to that mid lane, because Rosie, he's managed to pick up the counter. He's got the rumble into the Maokai. Of course, Maokai, it's really difficult to keep him down, because, of course, even if you do get a Maokai off his farm, he just still a Maokai in the late game, able to use that Vengeful Maelstrom to be really tanky. But is Rosie, does he have an opportunity to really run over this lane, or do you think that there's going to need to be some pressure up there?
Well, I guess the cool thing about the Maokai and Rumble matchup is that you don't necessarily spam spells as the Rumble. You're looking to get most of the damage down with the Flame Spitter, and the only time you need to use the Scrap Shield is if Maokai goes on to you. So he's not going to be getting a whole lot of auto attack passive off where he gets all of the health back. He's going to be spending most of his time throwing saplings out and trying to farm as much as he can with spells to get through the lane. If he does opt to come in and fight, it's most likely going to indicate jungle pressure, or that he's just really comfortable in this matchup and wants to try and 1v1 and see how it goes. But it does start to go in favor of Rumble very quickly, because he can build really early and mid-game based items. He goes for the Sork Shoes, the Haunting guys, can go for an Abyssal Scepter if he's losing, get an early Negatron. It does seem to favor him, whereas you want the Righteous Glory first for a Maokai. Health is an effective combat stat, but it's not as good as raw Magic Pen.
Yeah, and especially when you're a Rumble, can get so much ability power damage down in a team fight across an entire team if you land that equalizer right. And of course, Rosie, a fantastic mechanical player. We've never discounted him for that, irrespective of which role he's playing. So he'll be able to do it. He'll be able to get those ones down at the right times, but we'll see whether they are going to be in the right situations, because, of course, Sudden Fear have an opportunity to try and work around what Sin are trying to do. And if they play with their brains, they will be able to get to a point where they can avoid these sort of clustered team fights in areas that they don't want them. So maybe avoiding fighting in a corridor is probably a good idea, and they can use Azir for that.
And I would possibly even suggest not fighting unless they're ahead for the first or second dragon also, just because of the threat of the early game comp that you've got here from Sin. They've got the Urgot who spikes with the Manamune and the Brutalizer. That's a lot of damage, and it's almost like the peak power of an Urgot. And then, which is weird to say because it's really early, but then you've got the Haunting guys, all of the items for the mid-game stats for a Rumble as well. So when it comes to early fighting, maybe Sudden Fear want to look to sneak dragons or just use that 2v1 lane swap that may come out for rotations. Just get something that lets it go in your favor a little bit more before you actually fight for an objective. A raw 5v5 looks quite bad early for Sudden Fear.
Yeah, does it get better though? Of course, ladies and gentlemen, pause continuing just for a moment, but yeah, does it get better here for Sudden Fear as the game moves on, or is it going to be difficult as it goes? Because, of course, I mean, the scaling is not necessarily that bad from Sin.
The scaling is not bad from Sin, and they do still get big item spikes, and they all scale very well into the late game. Cassiopeia in particular scales like a monster, and will be able to put the team on the back. We know it's Rymeister as well, so most likely going to happen at some stage.
They're already there. They're just chilling on his back. I mean, it's not. We haven't even gotten to the game yet, and everyone's still just like, Rymeister, carry me. We've got this.
They spawn on his back basically at all times. And then you look at the side of Sudden Fear. They can outscale, but it's not by a massive amount because the team fight of Sin is still very strong. They do have the Azir, and they've got a Kalista, though. So if they get a team fight off that is prolonged, perhaps they don't die through the Equalizer damage, or the Gragas Explosive Cask is a bad one and knocks them away. They can reset the fight and then come back at the side of Sin and really make them hurt. So late game scaling, it is in favor of Sudden Fear, not by a massive amount, but by enough to maybe Sin need to respect it.
Yeah, okay, and we'll see whether it can be about more the fact that Sin need to get these fights all in close quarters and around the ultimates that they have available. If Sudden Fear can get to a point where they can disengage, if they can sort of kite back and make sure that they can get in the right spots, and then re-engage after all of those sort of high-impact ultimates have gone off, things could go completely differently.
They could go completely differently. It does kind of come down to execution and team coordination from the side of Sin. And of course, there's going to be execution required from Sudden Fear. They've got the Azir who can potentially do the Azir second, initiate for his team if need be. They have a lot of options for how they want to go in. The Righteous Glory on Maokai with the teleport ganks. All of this needs to be coordinated, especially the Kalista Morgana combo. That's one of the most underrated initiation tools ever.
Oh yeah, being able to get those the soul shackles off. Once you just pop out of that Fate's Call, it's really terrifying to deal with. And of course, then you're there, you got a Black Shield on your Kalista who's just hopping around freely. No problems at all. Oh, what's that CC? I don't actually mind.
And that's one of the coolest things about their comp is the decision to get the Morgana. I couldn't spit that word out just then.
You got there.
Yeah, I did. They've got the Black Shield on the Morgana, right? So that enables a lot of their team have a newfound potential to do many other things that they couldn't have done with another support. If they had the Thresh, for example, they would have had a Lantern perhaps to engage them, but they would have been engaging with the tank then. Now they've got the Black Shield. There is the chance of the Kalista being overly aggressive or the Azir being a bit aggressive as well, getting a little bit crazy, doing something forward onto the enemy team. And because the Black Shield's there as like a saving grace almost, it enables this new style of play potentially where it might take Sin off guard.
Yeah, and we'll see whether that is going to be what happens. Because, of course, Sin probably pretty happy with their team fight around the mid-game if they can get it. But, I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for them to make sure that Sin are fighting, that Sudden Fear are fighting for the right things. Because, of course, when you've got this team that's pretty comfortable scaling into the late game, you're not going to be trying to force fights. You're not going to be putting yourself in these positions where you can have trouble like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult thing to do, and they need to work around it quite perfectly. If they don't focus too hard on it, it could go downhill very quickly for them.
Well, speaking of which, we are getting onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Sudden Fear versus Sin Gaming, and this is going to be tough for either sides, and we'll see whether Sudden Fear can pick up their first victory in the OPL, or whether it's Sin Gaming starting their onslaught and proving us that they are going to be one of these top-tier teams in the Oceanic Pro League this time around.
And that's what they're going to have to do, and at the moment we're seeing almost an exact mirror.
Yeah.
Both teams invading their opposition jungle on the red side.
With the AD carries having a face-off.
With the AD carries looking at each other, planting the wards down and maybe dancing and trying to hit each other with spells. But they're looking to put the wards down to stop the 1v2 or to swap the lane swap from coming out. So we'll see how they want to play this from having the wards down and having vision available, they're both going to be aware, I would assume, of where the other team is because they've put all the wards down in one side of the map.
Yeah. And Shiny just hanging out in between his turrets here. Doesn't want to enter the jungle on either sides because, of course, things are very dark and scary over their side of the map at the moment. Sin are going to back away, so no one going to meet each other here in the early stages of the game. Minions are going to spawn, and Sudden Fear look to have got their lane swap, and I believe it's successful.
I feel like Sin are just pinging their own wards as if they're having a big conversation about where the wards should be.
Yep. Though that ward's there, that ward's also there. Correct, Sin. You have nailed it.
So they did do the lane swap here, though.
Yeah.
Sudden Fear are the ones putting the lane swap into effect, and we said that it's almost a soft counter in favor of the Urgot. So rightly doing this decision and maybe looking to get some rotational advantages early so they can secure objectives.
And I don't think it's necessarily about the bottom lane at all. I mean, you look at lane swaps a lot of the time and you think, oh, yes, it's because this duo wants to avoid this duo. But I have a feeling that it's probably more about Robo-Santa avoiding Rosie. Of course, Maokai more than happy to jungle, and Rumble not quite as strong in that department.
Yeah, it's very easy to take the first camp as the Maokai, so you start to get a smaller advantage. But while it is easy to jungle and the matchup is still okay for the Maokai, he wasn't going to be too bad getting through it. I don't think the lane swap would come out. Juice is about to gank mid at level 2 again.
Yeah, he's looking for a level 2 gank. Rosie's here as well. Does have the harpoons. Juice with a lot of damage. Christmas Tree's forced to use the flash. There's a flash forward from Rymeister as well as Christmas Tree's burning down. Twin Fang. First blood for Rymeister in the mid lane, and Sin already turning it on.
The fact that gank went off so successfully and they've got a Rumble and a Gragas with no body slam available is impressive, to say the least. They get the first kill down and no summoners available for Christmas Trees. This is rough.
Yeah, flash down from Rymeister though. So, I mean, that's something. Of course, Sudden Fear probably will look to enter that lane and try and pick themselves up some advantages. Sin, though, clearing out the red side jungle of Sudden Fear. Sudden Fear rightly stole away the red buff from Sin. So, just some vertical jungling coming through for both of these guys, as it is going to be Robo-Santa with about half health, and they're heading towards the mid lane now. Rymeister has to be very careful.
Yeah, they're going to be able to push down this bot tower at the same time as the gank happening mid as Rymeister's low.
Yeah, there's the flash forward as Rymeister might need to be careful here, but he's running very quickly, landing these poisons for the speed up. Rymeister just casually slithers away.
Yeah, unfortunately the knock-up from Rek'Sai was on cooldown still from a hitting earlier, so it didn't knock him up, and he kind of just walked away to safety. The cleanse used, so they get the summoner, and Azir gets some free farm now back in his favor a little bit, but that's a pretty early tier for the Cass.
Yeah, already picking that one up. That Archangel staff going to be a Seraph's Embrace pretty quickly. This Christmas Tree is going to continue to farm this one out. Interesting that he's sort of auto-attacking these minions freely, because I believe he could have kept that wave over his side of the map relatively easily. But Sin going to take this opportunity to start off the Dragon. 4.5 minutes here as Sudden Fear. They do know what's going on as Robo-Santa and Pink Bomi try to clear the ward, but they don't quite manage to. Christmas Tree's getting poisoned by Rymeister there, but Sin are going to have to back away from this Dragon by the looks of things. Juice taking a lot of damage. The tunnel might be available if Pink Bomi wants to try and get in there, but he's not coming back out again. The smite is there, but decides he doesn't want to take it, and it is going to be Sin locking down the Dragon. 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the game. First drag goes down, and Sin already off to a great start because, of course, they want to be winning quickly.
They do want to be winning quickly around their big spikes in champions and items. So that getting that early Dragon is great, and it is on the back of the lane swap that Sudden Fear put through. So they had the advantage of the AD carry and the number advantage in general. They're going to get the tower after this Dragon, most likely. They do have a lot of numbers. It's going to be hard for them to stop it.
Yeah, it's a double knock up there as Trashboat getting taken down very low, twisted advance, but he gets healed here from Stealthix as well. Trashboat not even going to die as Robo-Santa forced to flash away. Pink Bomi still burning down. Robo-Santa as well, of course. Trees burning relatively easily as Padu lands a nice Dark Binding to save his life. Prey Seeker doesn't find Trashboat though, and Sin really just looking like they have the map movements down pat here against Sudden Fear.
A valiant attempt to stop the tower from going down or find a kill in doing so. And they end up losing one person and the tower is going down again. But something you can take away from this is the difference between Shiny and Stealthix.
Yeah, Shiny really managing to pick up some farm here in the top lane. Actually, highest CS on the map, just left alone happily poising around on these minions and just shooting people down. So able to possibly get to a stage where he can carry in the late game, but we'll see whether that is going to be the case, because there'll be a lot on his back if things continue going the way they are for Sudden Fear.
Yeah, there's the chance that the Callista will get very big very quickly, and almost has enough for a BF sword if choosing to do so, about 5 to 10 CS away from that. And going to be in a very, very comfortable position if they want to swap back into the 2v2 against the Urgot right now. I
find it really interesting as well. What do you think about Shiny sort of sharing his points between the Q and the E?
That is very interesting. It's, I guess, to give extra wave clear, having an extra level in the Q early.
Yeah.
Would give you more damage if you last hit and it splashes onto the rest of them. So it does provide an extra bit of wave clear, but it also kind of takes away from one spell being stronger than the other.
Yeah, it's like you're trapped between two different identities. It's like, do you want to be this bursty, poke magey type AD carry, or do you want to be this team fight Ren setting AD carry? It's interesting.
And then you've got the choice. Most people who upgrade the Q first go for the Bloodthirster generally because it gives them the damage. And the fact that he's stayed until he had enough for a BS sword tells me he's not going for the Blade of the Wrong King, but he's putting levels into the Rend.
Interesting stuff.
Very.
We'll see how it works. He might be onto something here. Maybe
Some
there's
strategy.
Method in this madness, as Patu's just going to hold this wave here at the turret. Very, very nice, as Shiny's going to make his way back up here, and we're going to have conventional lanes just switched around just a little bit. Dragon not going to be up for another few minutes, so not going to be a problem here for Sin, able to move their bottom lane up without worrying about losing too much around the map.
Well, they're not going to be worried about losing things around the map because the Dragon and turrets are down, but they are in a very interesting 2v2 matchup. Now, the difference between the AD carries is massive, and if Shiny and Patu can make something out of this lane, if a massive binding connects through minions, and we know Patu's capable,
yeah,
then things could go down, could go south very quickly for Sin.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about having your Callista at level 6, it gives your support an extra form of CC, disengage, engage, a whole lot of different options. So it's almost like you have the levels a little bit more spread than you otherwise do.
Yeah, you get all of the things straight away from being 6.
All of the things, Rusty.
And only 5 on the Urgot is the big hurting fact, because there is the opportunity to push in and engage.
Yeah, actually, Rhymaster taking some poke from Christmas trees here, as Shiny's actually forced to dance around here a little bit. Nice use of the Q just to get some extra damage here for Stealthix, but Sudden Fear can't engage with their Rek'Sai because Shiny very, very low.
And the Ignite even used there from Trashbow to get him low. It's looking quite scary now because Stealthix is going to be getting very close to the 6. He's about a wave and a half away from it.
Yeah, we'll see whether Sudden Fear have an idea of when that's going to be coming through. Of course, it's going to be difficult to know because, of course, there's been lane swaps, all sorts of stuff has been going on. But Shiny now hits level 7. He's back to half health again. They're looking for the binding. Stealthix does shield himself up, but there's the black shield, nicely timed. Shiny still has to be careful. 300 health now on Stealthix as they're trying to lock down Patu, but the Q's not quite landing. And another one comes. Oh, the Rend almost there. The heal pop, though. Trash Boat, he's going to fall down. Shiny, is he going to get the double? Patu picks it up with a beautiful auto attack. And Sudden Fear, they answer back and even the score on the kills.
And this is the strength of the lane, with having 2 levels in advantage to them right now. It's massive. They get the 2v2 that they wanted. And that was a small error from Sin actually looking to swap back. And they were very close to getting the kills, but all summoners down now and not having the Ignite available on Trashboat after that last engage was a big factor as to why that fight went so well for Sudden Fear. They get the turret, they get 2 kills, and now it's starting to look very good for them.
It's starting to look a whole lot better now as Juice does slow a Pink Bomi down just a little bit. Actually doesn't. Black Shield was there. And Preseeking going to find both of the Sin members here towards the top side. Rymeister did head back to the mid lane, so not going to have Snake support. But Robo Santa solos out Rosie in the bottom lane. And we've got to pause, probably to work out how the heck that happened. We've got our analysts on it. How did a Maokai manage to win the 1v1?
Instantly Alt F4'd out of the game because that should not have happened.
I don't know where I am anymore.
All
Guys, we're done. We're out of here.
But that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Looked a bit deep there from Rosie. So might not be in the best position and goes down. It was very close as well.
It was. But Robo Santa managing to pick one up, and that's fantastic for morale, most definitely. Of course, Robo Santa has been a top laner for a very long time. Rosie, not for quite as long, but he's been playing League of Legends for a heck of a long time. So, of course, Rosie's still with a whole lot of skill. And so we'll see look, I just want to see that. I just want to see how that managed to happen. We'll see whether we can get anything for you guys. But, man, it was exciting stuff. And we are going to see it now as RoboSanta. Yeah.
As if on call, we get to see it again.
Yeah,
so this is how it actually went down right now. So we'll get to watch the wet noodle fight as it happens and how Rosie manages to go down here, because that's looking quite good for him. He's about to overheat.
He's got some auto attacks there. Sapling's going to come down. Oh, is he going to twist it advance? God. That is incredible.
That was really close. Like, the skin of his teeth amounts and the passive giving him health back was the actual difference between, well, I thought he was going to die there and not.
Yeah, and I think the extra couple of creeps hanging around were very relevant in that little 1v1 as well. And I think it was the timing of one auto attack. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you take attack speed when you're playing Rumble, so that you don't get 1v1.
Pro tips from the play-by-play.
That's the kind of pro tips you're going to get. The kind of pro tips that you should never listen to. Yeah. Yep. So like my Essence Reaver and Ginsu's Rageblade recommendations.
Yeah, we don't go with that. We don't go with that.
No, no one does.
I guess the coolest thing about that 1v1, though, was the fact Arcane Smash knocks Rumble away and makes him face the opposite direction. So a small little fact there that looked really big, and as to why that was even a 1v1 that went really well for him.
Yeah, and of course, Flame Spit are pretty reliant on you being able to actually face someone and burn them down.
Yeah, very true. And the fact that that can't happen is a big factor. But if we have an actual look at the game now, because we are back into it, there are things that need to be assessed from Sudden Fear. So 1v1s and 2v2s going very well for them. And this is against the team that seems to scale a little bit earlier. They need to decide if they want to utilize this small advantages that they're starting to get and fight against what is a team that will be very strong regardless of the score this early. Or do they want to just take the win for what it's worth and scale past it?
Yeah, and another thing I want to talk about is Shiny. Because a lot of people spoke about this guy as being one of the best. Oh, actually, a fight's going to break out here as Patu and Shiny are making their way in. Nice Dark Binding onto Trash Boat. He's going to get locked up. Christmas Trees, he rotates around first, and Patu picks himself up another kill. Juves might be caught out as a Pink Bomie's actually going to flash after him here. Oh, RoboSanta turns up at exactly the right moment. Might even be the Ventral Maelstrom. Nope, he's just going to probably smash him. As this one comes down, is just going to, cool guys, don't look at explosions, pick up that kill, and Sudden Fear with another quick couple of kills. Sin are going to try and rotate towards the mid lane, but Christmas Trees is here with a fair bit of wave clear. They're going to see whether they can deal with these minions before Sin can get the work done. Rosie trying to get something down, but another thing that we didn't mention is the fact that Sin have barely any siege.
That is quite true. They've got the melee range top laner, a low-ranged AD carry, and then they've got a Cassiopeia who's not really a siege specialist whatsoever. So their siege is a bit lacking. Their split push isn't necessarily great either. So they're looking to catch people to kill them before trying to siege. I mean, they do have range. They just don't have direct siege capabilities.
Yeah, they don't have range for taking down a turret, but they can get onto you if you're at the right position. Rymeister, though, he's going very aggressive. Q doesn't actually land there. Oh, bit of an interesting petrifying gaze there as Emperor's Divide's just going to send Rymeister a bit of a message. But Shiny's just going to kill Rosie in the bottom lane. And there is action going all over this map as Rymeister continues to clear the mid lane. But RoboSanta, he's coming down. Might find a couple of extra friends on the side of Sin. And we'll need to be just a little bit careful. Oh, the tree flashing out of the way of the dredge line. Nicely done. And Trashboat not going to find his target.
So Shiny picking up a kill in the bot lane on the back of a Pink Bomie getting a nice gank off. In the mid lane, we saw an unfortunate flash petrifying gaze.
A petrifying gaze flash, I think, was the interesting
going off
one.
Before the flash actually did. The mechanic looked right, it just didn't go the right way that you were looking for it to go. And at the same time, they get the tower though, so it's still big for Cassiopeia. They're most likely getting the Dragon, though, here as the response, which is big for Sudden Fear.
Yeah, that's huge. And it stops Sin from having that sort of 5th Dragon timer on the game at a low mark. So, of course, Sudden Fear pushing that one back 6 minutes might actually be what could be the difference between win or loss here. But one thing that I really want to see from Sudden Fear is being able to get a team fight that looks right. Because this team has made it to late games before as RoboSanta might be in trouble. Gets swapped back. Nice twisted advance to get him under the turret, but he's still incredibly low. Barrel doesn't actually land. Explosive cast to pick up the kill, but the rest of the fight breaking out. Juves very, very low. But a Pink Bomie may have been baited into this one. Christmas Trees tries to get something done. They do save the turret, but they sacrifice the tree.
One for the turret, one for the tree, sorry. They only got the tree, they didn't get the turret. In the mid lane, it was a sun turret. That's what trolled me and I thought went down. Rymeister trying his best to siege, but he is just a snake and slithers away knowingly that he can't actually take turrets, and they do get a kill for it though, and that's going to give them a bit more momentum back in their favor. Gragas actually picking that one up with the explosive cast. Almost surviving there was Robo Santa, and that was very close.
Yeah, very close. Of course, explosive cast, the ultimate having to be used from Juves in order to secure that one. Shiny though, 2, 0, and 3. Now has the Berserker's Greaves. We've spoken about how important having boots 2 are on this Kalista. Of course, you do martially poise a little bit further as soon as you upgrade those boots. The thing that bothers me, right, about Kalista is the fact that it only upgrades based on whether you've upgraded your boots, not how far you've upgraded them. So if you get Swifties, you don't jump further.
And you want boots 3 so you can jump a little bit further.
I want Swifties, so I like get my Nikes on and I'm like bouncing around the fight super far.
See, I'm all for that not happening.
Yeah, I
because
understand.
that would be stupid.
Yeah, no. Okay. Okay. Just kill the fun. Fun killer Rusty right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Has to happen at least once a cast, let's be real.
I just like boots 3, an inordinate amount.
You had your Essence Reaver, mate.
I did. I had my moment. I certainly did. You were being too nice to me. Is Rosie and Robo-San are going to find each other once again. Rosie may be a little bit upset, but Robo-San is going to miss a cannon creep, so he can definitely be okay about that. Juves is hanging around now, though, and Patu may not necessarily be enough to save him here as there is the Fat Man. Oh, Dark Binding not going to find its mark as Patu's going to flash and try and get the Soul Shackles. Rosie almost getting stopped by that one, but a nice explosive cast there. And there's the equalizer onto 3 members as well. Patu has to be so careful. He's burning down. He's going to die, but the Sin members, they're falling low as well. Robo Santa, can he secure at least one of these kills? Body Slam gets Juves out of the way. The slow from the barrel as well. And that was just a flat-out outplay.
The equalizer doing immense amounts of damage in a bad position there with Sudden Fear, trying to get a fight in their advantages. Robo Santa
just going to teleport away. Turns his back to the snake, and he's going to be out of there. But that's a big cooldown.
That was really cute, though, the fact that he just turned away and used the teleport, so there was no petrifying gaze to stun.
Flash over the top of him to stun it back? Yeah, no.
No, he does get away there, and that was Christmas trees, though. Actually, yeah, he's going to get away as well.
Longest depth charge ever over that wall.
That went pretty deep.
It certainly did. So Rymeister trying to spit on this turret yet again, realizing that Saliva not necessarily working as well as bullets or arrows, things from an AD carry that they might be throwing at it. So he's not going to be able to get that one down just yet as Patu's just patrolling the jungle towards this bottom side. And Pink Bomi is just going to clear out this top wave of minions. Robo-Santa heading back up there as well as... I'm just not entirely sure who's ahead at this stage because we've mentioned the fact that Sudden Fear, they don't necessarily spike just yet. And Sin probably are going to be a little bit further ahead as far as their strength right now. But is this a position in the game that Sudden Fear will be happy with just because they don't have that scaling comp? They wanted to weather this storm and they're doing well?
They're doing well. They have the comp that can scale past it, but this isn't the scary part. What's scary is this next dragon in 1:45 and the fact that they've just now finished the Brutalizer, Glacial Shroud onto the Urgot. They've got a Seraphs already.
Yeah, that's a good point.
At 17 minutes onto this Cassiopeia, who is massive now.
50 CS in the lead as well.
Yeah, a big difference. Cassiopeia is huge. Working on the Abyssal too next. So that's a really saying I want to fight now and I don't want to die.
Yep.
And then you've got the Haunting Guy's Sork Shoes and the makings of a Revolver from the looks of it onto this Rumble. So they are getting all of these big mid-game items with flat pen amounts. They're looking to fight now. So this is the scary part for Sudden Fear. They've done well so far, but can they push past this stage and actually be relevant still once they hit the later stages? Can they even win a fight now, which would be phenomenal to see?
I know we're seeing 2 amplifying tomes, so it looks like a Revolver, but will he build that?
Why not?
I know, I'm incredibly excited. I haven't seen Team Book Rumble for a very long time. But that's, of course, because Team Book is no longer a team book, it's a person book.
It is, but it does give cooldown reduction, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not that you really want to overheat sooner, is it? It still gives, the spell vamp is the important part.
He might also be going towards Leandri's and Arm Guard, but just wanted the ability power now.
And that's another factor that they want to fight sooner.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So, Rumble item build discussions aside, we do have a Dragon up in 23 seconds. Sudden Fear looking to try and get some vision control around it. Their defensive vision is fantastic. That is one thing I'd like to add. Their damage control vision. This is sort of vision of a team that knows that they're not necessarily in a position to fight at the moment, and they don't want to get picked in their own jungle.
4 pinks on the map and 1 in their inventory is very good for Sudden Fear because of the reason that you mentioned. They don't want to get caught, and they're in a very good position to at least push towards the dragon and try and fight on their own terms because there is no vision control from Sin. But if they decide to group up, it's going to be pretty rough for Sudden Fear. I guess the dragon, the river is a good area, but not in translation towards the river for the dragon.
Yeah, and it looks like Sin do have the wave pushing in the bottom side of the map. I believe there are a few more red dots than there are blue dots down there. Sudden Fear's wave looks to be pushing in the top lane. So as far as hanging around here and just fighting around this dragon is concerned, it'll go well for Sin on the bottom side, but it looks like Sudden Fear might get that one turning around towards the top as Juve's going to try and clear out this pink ward. Christian's Trees tries to say no with his Athene's Unholy Grail already completed. But that's 1 item to the 2 of Rymeister in that Seraph's Embrace, and now the completed Abyssal Scepter, not to mention Boots too as well. He is so far ahead.
The difference in mid lane is ridiculous at the moment. This is a big factor for why fights would be so strong for Sin right now. They need to force something. They're not necessarily on a time bomb where they will lose the game past the point. And this is a position right now where I don't want to be Sudden Fear. They're bottlenecking themselves, looking to either steal the dragon or walk through what will be a Rumble Equalizer on top of them. They need to get into the river before this fight.
Yeah, and Christmas Trees has to use his Emperor's Divide perfectly in the next fight as Trashboat tries to engage, doesn't land the dredge line, but Sudden Fear on top of the Equalizer now. Nice Dark Binding as Sudden Fear now looking to try and just disengage, but Trashboat and Juves very, very low. The dragon does fall down. So dragon secured by Sin. No kills just yet. Dark Binding right at the end there is going to at least lock down Stealthix just for a little bit, but he is far enough under his turret to be safe. But man, that was very close to being something, and instead was just a dragon.
It was close to something, and it was a bad position for Sudden Fear to be on. That Equalizer exactly where you expected it to be, trying to bottleneck them.
Oh, Patu with the flash.
Wow.
Not sure why, but it looked flashy.
He was going for Juves, who just juked it at the last second, and it hit Urgot, so it looked like a priority target. The priority was Juves.
Yeah, and I didn't mean that. Flash was flashy. That was awful. I apologize. Producer just yelled at me. I could see it in his eyes. Is Rosie going to clear out a pink ward here as well? Sin looking to try and get some vision control back around this map. Maybe a little bit late, of course, because the vision was just utilized around the dragon area, but Sin able to remain in control of that one. Rymeister now on the top side, just going to be poisoning these ones to death and continuing his reign of terror as far as that CS meter is concerned.
Yeah, keeping control is what Sin have to do right now. Sudden Fear are able to relinquish that control because they are playing defensively. You can see it from their ward coverage now. It's all around the dragon, but it is back. It's not even neutral, it's back.
Yeah.
So they're not looking to fight. And this is smart because they're not looking to fight a team that is going to be stronger than them at the moment in a 5v5. They could opt towards splitting. They've got the teleport available now for Robo Santa, and he'll be comfortable against the Rumble. He won't be able to kill the Rumble, but he shouldn't die. So it's an okay position to be in. Or they could just do this.
Are they going for a cheeky Baron?
No, they just wanted to form in the Scuttlecraft.
Oh, damn it. I was whispering just because it seemed very cheeky. As Sin heading into the mid lane now, just trying to get some pressure on Juves. Bit of a mission into the enemy jungle. Probably has been spotted out by one of the many wards, and he's going to get knocked up, actually. Christmas Trees, Emperor's Divide back into his team now, but Juves just going to take a fair bit of damage, uses the flash to get away. Patu almost dying to like 3 Twin Fangs from Rymeister. Jeepers, he's doing some damage.
And indirectly, that ended up becoming worse for Christmas Trees in saving Juves than it did better. It looked amazing, and it knocked him towards the team. But it also knocked him on the other side of the wall where he just body slammed to safety and used the flash and got out in a very good position. So unlucky there and a really great engage.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. Would have thought that they might have been able to lock him down for just a little bit longer, but he's tanky enough at the moment. Does have that Aegis of the Legion now and the Cinder Hulk, of course, built up with the Sightstone as well. So Juve's able to take care of himself relatively well in these situations that may not necessarily look so good. So far, Rosie actually deciding to go with the Leandries, yes, but he's going for a Void Staff as his next option, just to make sure that he maximizes his damage. Sudden
Or a
Fear.
Rylai's.
Yeah, potentially a Rylai's. Haven't seen a Rylai's Rumble for a very long time, though.
Would be pretty cool.
I think it's a cool item, of course. 100 ability power as well.
Yeah,
a lot of people sort of overlook that one. Plus gives you a little bit of extra Leandry's damage as well on your abilities that don't CC, namely your Flame Spitter. I like it. Spawn has said that it's terrible and he doesn't like it at all. But look, who cares about that guy?
Look, if it does ability power damage, it's good on Rumble.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't give mana.
What about Eluden's Echo?
Why not?
Spooky Ghosts?
No.
Ah, it's got ability power on it, man.
Close.
I love Spooky Ghosts. More CC. Can see where people are.
Just because you can put Ghost down does not make it awesome.
It does make it awesome. What are you talking
Okay,
about?
it makes it awesome.
Yeah, exactly. There we are. Finally. He's
Now, we
coming
have
to
an
his
Aegis
senses.
as well here on Juves. So, again, all of this item spiking is coming up huge. The Frozen Heart finish
Yeah,
for
that's
Urgot.
a big one.
Stealthix has got his CDR now. He's at a very good point. Almost got the Merc Treads, and once he gets that, he's going to be very comfortable just being in the front line. And every single member, besides Rymeister, who, in a way, is still going to be comfortable because he's got a Ceres and he's got an Abyssal Scepter. So they're all building resistances. And if they're not building resistances, then they're just a Rumble who has shields anyway and will be reasonably tanky and will still get the damage down with the Equalizer.
And his Equalizer stays there if he's dead, too. I mean, he just needs to land that. He's got the Equalizer build, which is Leandry's. That's about it. And as soon as he builds that Void Staff as well, I mean, that's just going to be eating through what is now a Locket of the Iron Solari here for Patu as he's gone back to pick that item up. Christmas Tree is looking for his Rabbidan's Death Cap as his next item. He's going to really spike in damage at that stage, and Azir only going to get stronger and stronger as this game goes on. And one thing about Azir is he's a little bit safer than the old Cassiopeia, who does have to be right up in your face if she wants to get the maximum amount of her damage down. Sudden Fear will have to sort of play around the ranges very, very effectively in these upcoming team fights. But so far the gold is 100 off for both of these sides.
Which is crazy to consider when you look at the mid lane and notice the CS difference right now is 80.
Well, if you have a look at the bottom lane, the CS difference is 40. I mean, things sort of balancing out. 30 CS in the jungle as well in favor of a Pink Bomi, who's going to Void Rush here towards the mid lane. And RoboSander looking to try and get something happening. There's the Righteous Glorious. Trash Boat is going to get engaged on, but he's relatively tanky. There's the depth charge onto Christmas Trees. Juves does get locked up there with the Dark Binding, but a Pink Bomi went way too aggressive into that fight. There's the Equalizer down. RoboSander in the back line, but Christmas Trees, he can't walk across that red carpet as Trash Boat gets taken down very, very low. There's the Emperor's Divide, but only defensive use there. No one's dead. Rusty, what?
It happened again. The Equalizer came down in the exact same position as the Dragon fight, and straight away the side of Sudden Fear looked to back away. They're trying to pick fights in positions which are not favorable for them. Even if they get caught out of position, they're retreating in a way that isn't favorable for them. And it turns around very quickly. Impressive that none of them actually died from that. A Pink Bomi being crazy amounts of low.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really surprised that Rek'Sai is alive. She is a sneaky lass.
Very. The fact that she's alive is ridiculous. But again, no one dying. But the fight wasn't favorable for Sudden Fear. So this is, in a way, it's a promising thing to note that they're not dying when these fights should be so handily in favor of the Sin lineup. So they've got a lot to look forward to when it comes to later game.
Yeah, and O'Reilly's Crystal Scepter now completed by Rosie as well. Little bit of extra slow on that Equalizer.
Called it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, you did. You most certainly did. That's why we hire you as the color caster there, Rusty. Nicely done. Predictive stuff. But we haven't seen it for quite some time. We'll see how it works out in this game because I'm excited because I haven't seen it for a while. I always thought it was good. I was assured that it wasn't. But you just see the synergy between those two items.
Well, you don't need slow on Rumble. That's the big thing, is that you've got the harpoons and you've got your Equalizer to actually slow people as it is. So
okay. So it's like redundant.
Yeah, well, it essentially is, but it gives 100 ability power and gives health, which is massive because he doesn't need to go for a health item. He can still afford to go for what is an offensive, pseudo-tanky item that does give you a lot of offensive stats, but still has the health behind it. And I guess the slow being on your Q is an added bonus in that.
Yeah, Sudden Fear now able to get some vision control around this Baron. And if they get some free time with it, they get to stack it up with these Ren bolts that's really going to give Shiny the ability to lock that one down. One thing about the Sin lineup is that they have a heck of a lot of Baron damage if they get there first, but Sudden Fear, so much Baron security with their Kalista. And Juice is actually going to flash Body Slam. They find Christmas Trees, who flashes away, uses the barrier, stays relatively safe as Robo Santa trying to turn this one around. Trash Boat takes a lot of damage. A Pink Bomi, he got single target equalized. As Robo Santa, he's going to go down as well. Double kill for Rosie. There's the Emperor's Divide. Shiny still alive in the back line. There's the Fate's Call. Gets a knock-up. Jubes is the Ren there. The shutdown comes through. He gets the Ren set. Shiny still looking to try and get the damage, but he's taking so much from the Sin lineup. They do clean it up in the end. It's a 4 for 2, and Sin, they're now going to get some work done.
Too many targets on the Sin lineup actually do damage, and you compare that. A Pink Bomi got the initiation on 4 members, knocking them up. The equalizer essentially just on him.
Yeah.
And still, Sudden Fear don't manage to come ahead in this team fight because they're just unable to do all the damage. Straight away, the explosive cask onto a Christmas Tree is making him force the flash, and we're going to be able to see the fight again. So, again, using the explosive cask straight onto Christmas Trees, he's out of there. A Pink Bomi goes in with Robo Santa, hits a massive knock-up on important targets. But the rest of the side, Shiny's being zoned by the equalizer. Christmas Trees is unable to do the damage, and that was a really good Petrifying Gaze to stop Christmas Trees. And the rest of this is just Shiny finally starting to have some relevance in the fight after being zoned by the equalizer, but too little too late because all 3 members here do exceptional amounts of damage from Sin, but it's just a Kalista who needs time.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. Has gone back and picked himself up that Bilgewater Cutlass, so a little bit more life steal. Soon will have that Blade of the Ruined King for some added security. But not necessarily going to have tank bust, but doesn't really need it. Of course, Juve's the only real tank on this side that's going to get hyper tanky, but I guess Stealthix and Trash Boat, okay, this is a massively tanky lineup. He needs to have some tank bust ability, and this build not necessarily going to give it to him.
Well, Blade of the Ruined King has the tank buster against health, and when you have a look at who's actually got armor on the side of Sin, it is basically only the Urgot.
Yeah, that's true. Shiny actually going to get caught by a Trash Boat here, uses the QSS, remains safe with that Black Shield there as well, but flirting with death just a little bit is this Kalista. Holds onto the Summoner spells, that's the main thing, as that wall is going to get Darkbound. Patu realizing that it's not going to hit terrain. Trash Boat hanging around here. Pink Bomi just sails on by. Another Dark Binding sails into the Abyss. As Sin, they find an equalizer. Patu uses the Black Shield, but has to flash away as well. Knock up onto Trash Boat as Sudden Fear looking to try and just escape this one. They may try and take a Baron, but instead they're looking to put some pressure in the mid lane.
The sudden go button just pressed by Sin, but the Emperor's Divide denying any chance of them following up that Nautilus engage.
Yeah, good point.
So straight away they back off. They do take the win in their favor, but no kills to come down. All they're getting from this is the vision control.
Yeah, they do have it now as well, as they're actually baiting this Baron. They could be doing it, thinks the Sudden Fear lineup, who now are without that massive ultimate in the Emperor's Divide. They do have the speed boost of the Rift Scuttler, as Pink Bomi might be caught out of position here. Shiny as well, using that Martial Poise to try and make himself safe here. Robo Santa gets engaged on, already on half health, but the Dredge line misses. Stealthix looking to try and get a swap on, and Robo Santa's going to burn down. Rymeister picks up that kill, and Sin just with much better rotational play to find that pick. Shiny and Pink Bomi do have to be careful. Double kill as Christmas Tree is just going to die in the mid lane.
It was a flash Petrifying Gaze from Rymeister to secure that.
He got it that time.
He did get it. He used it in the right order, and they do get the second kill there. A double kill for Rymeister. And you said it, the rotations that they're doing are a lot better, but it's because they're doing it as 5 members. They're coordinating what they're doing so well that they're actually able to secure objectives or secure kills, which translates to objectives, and maybe a part 2 on the side.
Yeah, Patu just going to get auto attack
casually not connected or something.
Just no. Just accepts his fate.
Fair enough.
Understands.
I would have danced.
It's a Riley's rumble, you know? You're not getting away. As Pink Bomi is going to head back as well. And we are going to have a brief pause, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see whether Sudden Fear can find their way back through this one. Of course, Baron falling down going to be very, very difficult, but they've got a lot of wave clear.
They do have a lot of wave clear, and it's not exactly easy to wave clear the melee minions, though, when they have the Baron buff. So
it's a good point.
There is the threat of maybe engaging while the minions are under turret, but then, of course, you're diving in a Zia who has the Emperor's Divide, and the rest of the side as well able to completely disengage. Arcane Smash, everything that comes out. Even Kalista with Morgana. How do you
Fate's
engage and how do you dive a team like that?
Yeah, diving a Morgana has always been a thing that you've been told never to do.
Yeah.
So we'll see whether they can manage to do that, as we do have a replay.
So this is how they managed to get the kills onto Robo Santa straight away, and then Rymeister shows a bit of aggression here.
Oh, and
hits the flash ultimate, this
too.
time in the right order, and actually gets, at the very least, the slow and the damage down, picks up a kill, a double kill for Rymeister.
Yeah, very, very difficult if you are a Christmas Trees. Because, yeah, 2 levels below, that was a rank 3 ultimate coming through. We saw that. It did about half of his health. So really, really frightening stuff here from this Cassiopeia. So look, we'll see whether Rymeister can still make things happen moving forward in the game. And if they get these type of engages where he can chase, where they're sort of getting fleeing members, then that Twin Fang, after the speed up from the poison, you're not getting away.
Well, essentially, if the Cassiopeia is on the front line, you're going to have a bad time because it means that you're either in a bad position, unless you're catching the Cassiopeia, because you're running away.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a pretty rough time. And the amount of damage that Rymeister is doing is unbelievable at the moment. We saw that with almost 3 Twin Fangs and just the ultimate. Christmas Tree's going down.
Yeah, that was through all of his summoner spells as well. Used the barrier, got the shield from his E, and was just melted in seconds.
Did he get the shield from his E?
He did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just more of a demonstration of the filthy damage that Rymeister was doing at that stage.
Looked like 1 Twin Fang probably got rid of the entire amount. But again, Rymeister doing a lot of work. Had a 17-minute Seraph's Embrace. Unbelievably, like, early. The fact he got the early kill as well is a big factor. The level 2 gank from Juves and Rosie, giving him a 4-minute Tear of the Goddess.
Yeah.
Got that early Seraphs, spiked a lot earlier, and that's with the rest of his side, which are so mid-game based. So being able to scale as a late-game style champion, had that item spike a lot sooner, works really well for objective-based fighting for here for Sin.
Yeah, and as far as that sort of item spike is concerned as well, he managed to get to a Seraph's Embrace, and as that item transformed, he had an Abyssal Scepter and the Sork Boots against Christmas Trees, who was sort of a Doran's Ring, Boots 1, and a cup.
Yes, and a cup.
Yeah, he had a cup.
A cup of blue stuff regeneration.
It did have a fancy name, like Athene's Unholy Grail, something like that, but it was still a cup, ladies and gentlemen. So, Rymeister very, very far ahead from a very early stage in the game. Neuromancer now transformed as well for Stealthix. We did see that one coming through pretty quickly, as Rosie hasn't been back to base for quite some time. Actually, Rymeister looking to try and steal away this dragon potentially, as Shiny decides that he doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with Rosie. Tunnel going to be taken. Oh, Rymeister looking for it. Doesn't have very much mana left, as the dragon now delivered safely into the hands of Sin. It's going to be locked down there as Depth Charge does come through. Sudden Fear looking to try and eke something out, as Shiny does have a rend available. Christmas Trees get some damage down from the back, and Sin sort of flirting with a little bit of danger, but now with their 4th dragon, 6 minutes to that fabled 5th, and their opportunity to try and break this base. Baron is still up.
Yeah, they only just got the Baron very recently before the pause came out.
That is true.
They've got a lot of duration for this Baron left. They've just got the 4th dragon. They're sitting pretty. And we were talking about how big Rymeister was. He had a needlessly large rod. It is now a death cap.
Oh my goodness.
Like, he wasn't big enough.
Yeah, so he's got 5 items. It's frightening. It's most definitely frightening. This Snake Lady is doing some work. Stealthix now with a casual Bilgewater Cutlass. Haven't seen that one before. But look, when you're at this, I want to see him build a Hex Deck Gunblade.
No, probably not. Doesn't really scale with ability power. But while we're talking about revolvers being upgraded, a Blade of the Ruined King is finished here for Shiny. He's got a big item now, and that's going to be a lot of damage because he's got the Hurricane with it.
Yeah, true.
So hitting 3 targets, has the Blade of the Ruined King, he's going to start to shred tanks. This is big for him. It's a big factor in his team scaling to the later stages and actually doing a lot of relevant damage now. All they need is Christmas Trees to maybe get on board with the Void Staff, which is going to take a while, and they do have Baron. So we'll see how they actually go here.
Yeah, Shiny looking to try and clear out this minion wave at least, as he bounces around and puts a whole lot of sticks into a whole lot of things. But this inhibitor turret is falling down. Trashboat looking for an engage with the Righteous Glory. Does slow down Robo Santa. Pink Bomi out of position as well, is forced to flash Juves. Looks to try and get him back into the team, but they look for the inhibitor instead. Focused on the objectives is this Sin lineup, and they do lock that one down. Bottom lane inhibitor as well. So next time that Baron's up, they will have these super creeps streaming into the base.
Yeah, the focus was almost completely laser there, straight onto the objectives and just pushing everyone away. Getting the flash out of a pink Bomi saved his life, but they do get the inhibitor for it. And Sin, in a very commanding position right now, have all of the moves that it's in their page. They have to finish this game out convincingly, or can Sudden Fear turn it around and capitalize on a mistake?
Yeah, well, it will have to be a mistake, of course. At the moment, looks to be Sin's game to lose. Not surprising here. Of course, sort of Sin looking fantastic moving into the OPL. But Sudden Fear, with this comp, they might be able to get an upset if they manage to play their cards right. It's not all over until the fat lady sings, as it were. Of course, there's no fat lady in this game, so it's going to be difficult.
Does Gragas count?
Well, it's not really a lady. They should have a fat lady skin. Should design one of those.
German beer maid
Yeah.
style.
I like it.
Yeah, I can dig that.
Fat lady Gragas. I think we're okay with gender bending a little.
Yeah, it's fine.
I like it. And he can sing when the game's over. Perfect. And then thankfully my analogies will work. Sun Turret is going to be here as well. Guaranteed security of the cannon creep, which is useful. But this bottom lane, still super creeps streaming towards the base. Sudden Fear can only prolong that push for so long as the Dark Binding not going to find Trash Boat. Just continues to wander around here.
They do have some time. The bot lane is pushed out enough that if Sin look to fight now, maybe they get caught by this.
Sudden Fear going for it. Oh, the Dark Binding lands onto Stealthix there as we do have Rymeister pops the Seraph's Embrace. A pink Bomi taking a lot of damage. Patu right in amongst it's going to get a massive stun with the Soul Shackles. 4 members going to be stunned up there as Shiny trying to get something in there. Uses the QSS to stop the Swapsy as Christmas Tree's now going aggressive. He's going to die for it, but the Emperor's Divide going to stop Sin. Shiny, the last man standing, and it was a last-ditch effort. It was worth going for, but Sudden Fear cataclysmically lose the fight.
They did have to try and get that. They had the bottom inhibitor down. I guess there was no Baron to go for, but their wave clear is, it's good, but it's not good enough to stop what Sin are doing and the pressure that they can put down. So,
oh, the flash body slam. Shiny getting aggressed on. Takes down Juves, but Sin are going to be able to lock down the ace. Looking to try and finish off another turret here, but they may as well just go to the base. There are super creeps there. Only Patu and a pink Bomi alive.
No, they can't.
They can't. There's 2 low death timers. I didn't realize that it was only 35 minutes into the game when they died, or 38 minutes. So, not going to be happening. Void Staff now completed by Christmas Trees, who is all of a sudden alive again, and they don't lose the top lane inhibitor.
And that's quite good from the side of Sudden Fear. Actually getting a trade onto Juves was big, and the fact that they went so deep with the Gragas to try and get the kill stopped them from getting the inhibitor because they had no tank to follow that up. So they do get the turret, but everyone respawned in time to prevent anything further from actually going down. So well done to cut their losses, at the very least make something better out of what was a very dire situation.
And speaking of dire situations, Luden's Echo now completed for the Cassiopeia. 7-0-5 for Rymeister. This Snake has 6 items. So just going to be buying potions from now on and probably foregoing some farm to other team members. Blade of the Ruin King Urgot is now a thing here for Stealthix. Haven't seen it before. We'll see how that one works. What's your experience with Blade of the Ruin King Urgot?
0.
Yeah.
I can't say I've seen a Blade of the Ruin King Urgot, but I can see some validity behind the passive, or the active of it, sorry, being used on people that are running at him. And the zoning that's going down onto Sudden Fear is very crazy. Is Trash Boat? No.
No. Righteous Glory was used for an attempted engage, but don't quite catch up. And yeah, of course, Urgot not generally one to capitalize on attack speed. But I guess they're making sure that they take down the 5th dragon quickly enough, which is going down immediately, is going to be consumed by the Sin lineup, and now they can move towards the base. Now they can move towards the Baron, actually, as that one's just respawned. Almost 10,000 gold in the lead, 9 turrets to 3. Massive advantages now for the Sin lineup, and it's just been off the back of some fantastic team fights, and it was until they managed to win that one by an extra 2 kills, and the whole game has fallen out of control here for Sudden Fear.
It's even less so the team fights and more so the decision-making prior.
Oh, Robo Santa in a lot of trouble. Emperor's Divide going to stop Sin from being able to get any further, but a pink Bomi decides to donate himself. He's going to head underneath that one, but it's going to fall down, and that is both of the tanks and Christmas Trees that are now dead. Shiny and Patu the last men standing here for Sudden Fear, trying to bravely hold on to their base. Their inhibitor does respawn, but it's only a matter of time before Sin decide to take that one down. They have made it there. Dredgeline going to get Trashboat a little bit closer. As I'm just really frightened of Rymeister's potential damage.
No objective
I
is
will
safe
have
right
nightmares.
now. Nobody is safe.
It is so true. Stealthix now with the added attack speed able to rip through this Nexus. And Sin Gaming locked down their second kill in the OPL. And Sudden Fear still without one. 0-4 now is their record. And look, it was always going to be a difficult fight, and they stayed very even for a very long time. But it was just Sin knowing what to do in the late game, rotating effectively and using their comp to its strengths.
Yeah, working around their spikes and when they felt stronger than their opposition, rotating smartly and rotating very well timed and as a cohesive unit, catching people out of position and all around, even individual mechanics. When they were team fighting, it was stellar to note that only the tanks were getting onto the backline. There was no carry damage being put down, whereas the Rumble was using the equalizer to zone all of the carries of Sudden Fear. Everything was just really well executed from them and a very all-around, well-done game.
Yeah, it was well played by Sin, and of course things were closer than you'd otherwise expect. Sudden Fear managed to get some surprises in the early game. Of course, Shiny picking up quite a few kills. Actually had a reasonable score towards the end, so look, Shiny possibly even a shining light for this team moving forward. They might be able to capitalize on his skill, obviously, and Sudden Fear still not looking like this team that don't deserve an OPL spot, but we'll see whether they can actually manage to pick up some victories, because that's what's important. They need to try and avoid the relegation.
No, they still seem very strong, and there are these moments of, or these glimpses of brilliance between the Sudden Fear lineup, and they do look exceptional. They just need to be a bit more refined with how they're executing everything, and the drafting, the play styles, the decision making. It's almost what it needs to be, but it's just not there.
Yeah, not quite, but we'll see whether they can change it up, of course. Next week, another opportunity here for Sudden Fear, but ladies and gentlemen, we are going to hop into the comms of Sin, as they are going to be in their last team fight, taking down Sudden Fear.
Still catch. Nice. Malphite. Nice. Morgana?
Azir's in the middle.
Cool down. Blister.
That wall fucking never did. If you get the slow on it.
Nice, good job.
Push on mid, push on mid.
Push him.